Good evening. I am reading from Satan's Trilogy. I am the author and the narrator. This is Book 1, Chapter 4, and reading 23. Hope you enjoy it. Esther opened a cabinet door. It seemed solid, a lightly varnished cherry that showed its grain. The hardware on the door was an attractive brass that complemented the quality of the cabinetry. Nearly 24 cabinets, and most were empty. Esther was pleased. The large pantry cabinet held only a few items that were Brandy's. This was what remained after Esther had cleaned out the old and very old food items from Aunt Brandy's kitchen. Esther knew she would have to visit Mr. Ho very soon to stock the shelves with necessary cooking and baking accessories. Opening one of the eye-level shelves made Esther realize that Brandy had little glassware, and what she did have should be donated to a charity if they would take it. Esther was aware of the correct stemware for wines, mixed drinks, and dinner place settings, and Brandy had none of these. Esther would find everything she needed, but she realized that there was no urgency and that she could enjoy herself as she stocked the kitchen with the needed items over the next few months or more. Esther had always lived with less, yet she understood from her schooling what utensils were needed in a working kitchen, and with Esther's love for cooking, she was eager to start shopping for those items. As Esther stood in the kitchen gazing over her new domain, the apartment was noticeably quiet. Brandy was studying her walk-in closet and was silently viewing the magnificent room surrounding her. In the silence, Esther had a thought. A memory from long ago came to her. Going to her bedroom, she approached the side of the Fujian bed. Esther stopped at the head of the bed where the large relief sculpture had caught her eye, thinking the thickness of the wood was to allow for the sculpture. Moving her hand along the edge, going slowly up the smooth grain of the wood, she felt a slight edge. Esther pressed into the wood and it gave way, moving only an inch or less. Moving her hand and placing it on the top of the headboard, Esther again felt an edge and found it a few inches forward toward the center of the bed. Pressing again on the grain of the wood, Esther felt it give, shifting its position nearly an inch again. Kneeling down and looking at the edge of her headboard, Esther noticed one more edge along the grain of the wood. As she pushed on that spot, an opening was exposed, and the wood shifted yet again, revealing a hidden cavity. A rolled piece of rice paper was revealed. Esther carefully pulled it out of its nesting place and slowly unrolled it. Studying the characters for a minute, Esther realized that this letter was written in classical Chinese characters. It was read right to left. Esther was able to read the letter, which said, "I have hidden in this bed the weapons that served my father long and well in battle and life. The person that finds this note is given ownership of these weapons. May they serve you well." The letter was signed, but Esther did not recognize the name. For now, Esther had decided to place the note back into the bed. Eventually, she would investigate the bed and its secrets. While placing the paper back into the cavity, Esther was thinking about her first teacher and a lesson he had taught her. Studying many traditional weapons, Master Chi easily took her weapon away and then said, "You are not defeated. You still have your body. As long as you have 2 hands and 2 feet, you can protect yourself. Master Chi had repeated his philosophy many times. The greatest weapon is one's own body, not one object that can slow down one's quickness and reaction time. Esther believed in this philosophy. While she understood the use and capabilities of many traditional weapons, Esther's knowledge helped her to defend against the weapons others might use. The 2 hours had passed and Brandy was still in her walk-in closet, thinking about all the possibilities she had with arranging clothes and shoes. It would take considerable thought to find the perfect solution to arranging her clothes. Brandy was in no hurry. This was the most fun she had experienced for a long time, and she was willing to move slowly with it. This was a dream come true. Having entered in Brandy's room, Esther stood at the entry to the closet and said, "And Brandy, this is a beautiful room. You have so much room here. You'll be able to arrange your clothes in so many ways. Plus, you have room for a lot more clothes. That must really excite you." Esther chuckled while placing her arm around her aunt to pull her closer. Brandy turned toward Esther, appearing to have just caught what Esther had said. "Esther, if I live 1, maybe 2 years and then die, I'll have a smile on my face having found utopia." Having said this, Brandy looked back at the closet area. Magnificent, simply magnificent. Brandy walked out of the room and closed the double door. Esther was slightly giggling at her aunt when Brandy turned around and saw her. "I'm not kidding, Esther. I never in my life thought I would have a closet as nice as this. Not that I never dreamed about it. To me, it's like winning the lottery. Of course, now I can buy some wonderful clothes and not worry about cramming them into an already full closet." And Brandy, I really apologize for giggling, but as nice as it is, it's only a closet. Esther tried to look sympathetic. "Esther, you have lived a much different life than most women, especially American women. To most women in this country, the larger the closet, the greater the satisfaction. You just might agree with me someday as you find more clothes you like and you don't want to part with any of your old ones. You'll need a larger closet, and if you don't have that, you'll struggle with what to do." Brandy put her arm around Esther, smiled, then changed the subject. "Are we ready to do some shopping?" Offering a big smile, "You bet. Where to?" replied Esther as the 2 girls walked out of Brandy's bedroom. "Well, I think it would be nice to browse about any furniture store," said Brandy. "How about you, Esther? Where would you like to shop?" "And Brandy, I am so excited. I finally have a kitchen to cook in, and it's just about as close to perfect as you can get. All we need are the accessories. I'm afraid that we are very short on the necessities of a well-stocked kitchen. Perhaps we could stop at Chin Ho's grocery store on the way home. I'll pay him for the wonderful waffle iron and pick up some groceries. But for now, dishes, that's what I would like to shop for," Esther added enthusiastically. "We need some place settings, and I would love to find at least 1 set today." Esther was smiling at her aunt and had the most pleasant smile on her face, her smile that showed true happiness. "Well then, Esther, I think that we should go to the outlet mall. They have it all." Turning around, both girls looked into the apartment before leaving, as if to make doubly certain this was all real and perhaps to enjoy the view. Walking down the hallway, the girls had several short discussions. Esther was describing her goals for the kitchen, and Brandy was talking about expanding her wardrobe now that she had the perfect closet. Their parking spaces were at the end of the hallway and within 6 feet of the side entrance. Brandy had her key fob ready, and with a slight squeeze, Avalon awoke and unlocked the doors. Esther and Brandy sat inside of the car, buckled up, and were ready to start another shopping experience. "And Brandy, where is it we're going first?" Esther asked while pulling the Garmin GPS out of the glove compartment. "Esther, you saw only a small amount of the East Side Outlet Mall. I can guarantee they have everything we need, and they're not that far away." Brandy waited for Esther to finish hooking up the Garmin, and then Brandy brought up the menu and entered recent trips. Garmin was going to take them back to the mall without any additional instructions. "Esther, this trip maker is so easy, I love it." Brandy backed out of the parking space and started for the entrance of the parking lot. The Garmin indicated the arrival time would be in 18 minutes. Within minutes, they were merging onto Interstate 6 with very little traffic about them. Brandy was feeling the warmth of the sun coming through the side window and felt a calming sensation envelop her. "You know, Esther, you are changing my life and for the better. I just didn't have purpose before you arrived." Brandy glanced at Esther. "The life I was living didn't give me peace or satisfaction. Not like the comfort I feel with sharing my day with you. It's odd, but now I didn't realize how empty my life was." "And Brandy, Dad and I always had each other. Our father-daughter bond easily satisfied the spirit. Many people talk about going home, but I have always felt that home is where your family is. Dad and I were always at home when we were together. We had many homes throughout the Far East, and they were all very satisfying. Dad had often reminded me that we had family back in Chicago. He talked about the two of you and his years growing up alongside of you. In many ways, the bond between a brother and a sister must be like a father and a daughter. Great distance doesn't weaken the bond, nor does time wear it away. I knew that my new home would be here in Chicago, and I know that this is how Dad expected it to be, a new home with family." The feelings that Esther shared came out slowly, and Brandy was listening closely as she heard Esther's voice share these thoughts, all while Brandy quietly agreed with everything Esther said. "Esther, this may sound odd, but I already feel like a better person with you in my life. It's like my life finally has meaning. I think that I was looking for the wrong kind of love. It's like I had lost my identity, but now I have found myself. Tomorrow it's back to work, and I feel like it's my first day on the job. I'm seeing everything in a fresh perspective." Brandy finally stopped trying to express her feelings and looked at Esther. "Esther, I guess that I am just trying to say that having you in my life is a good thing. I'm not certain what the future will be and how long we can enjoy each other before you move on with marriage or something." Startled, Esther put her hand out and said, "Hold on, Aunt Brandy. I'm going to be here for a long time. You may grow tired of me before I'm ready to leave." Esther looked at her aunt and laughed. "I have zero interest in a relationship with the opposite sex, and that is unlikely to change. I have goals and ambitions that don't include a relationship with any man." Esther looked at her aunt. "I see many years of happiness before us, but I do not see a man in my life. I have learned discipline, and I have accepted certain responsibilities that cannot be changed. We're going to share a lot together for a long time." Esther stopped talking and took a serious look at her aunt. Using her center finger, she pulled her hair back behind her right ear. She turned to Brandy and said, "I seem to sense certain things, and I'm certain that we'll share such happiness together and live long lives. That is not to say that we won't have some challenges. Life can be like a roller coaster, with some ups and downs, but we can deal with that. Then pulling her hair behind her other ear, Esther smiled and said, "And Brandy, we'll have lots of happiness, more than most people ever find. I know this to be true." Esther smiled and looked ahead. They had reached the outlet mall. Brandy had managed to find a parking space very close to the B entrance of the mall, and only a few rows away from the entrance. This space would be easy to find when they finished shopping. "Esther, I'm fairly certain that close to this entrance we'll find a lot of stores selling what we are looking for. Just to the right of the entrance is a kitchen utilities shop, and close by there, a shop for dinnerware." The two girls crossed the street, and sure enough, as they rounded the long entry hall, they found Kathy's Kitchen Keepers, a shop dedicated to every kitchen utensil imaginable. From simple hot pads to extravagant coffee machines, they had it all. Esther stood inside of the doorway and scanned the shop, and turning to her aunt, "I'll make this as short as possible. Give me 30 minutes." Esther grabbed a cart sitting along the front entrance and took off. The store wasn't huge by any means, but it was big enough to force Esther to realize that she would have to come back, preferably in the near future. Moving up and down the aisles, Esther studied the items available and made mental notes. She stopped to pick up a copper salt and pepper mill grinder that she thought attractive, and later several sets of dish towels. Esther loved every new aisle and the items in it. The last item she picked up was a sink liner to prevent damaging anything in the sink. When she arrived at the checkout lane, she also had a few utility drawer items, such as a carved grapefruit knife and a small set of skewers made from stainless steel. Esther's cart was nearly full. Brandy had been watching Esther, and as she unloaded the cart, Brandy asked what the heck this circular item was. It had a half dozen wheels that all pinned together. "That's a noodle cutter," said Esther. "I just love making noodles, and that gadget can cut a dozen strings of noodles at once." Esther smiled excitedly. Esther paid for the items and took a tag from the mall's pickup service. "And Brandy, this store had fantastic kitchen utensils, but their selection of dinnerware was rather limited, and not quite what I'm looking for," said Esther. We'll stop there. That was reading 23 from Book 1, Chapter 4. Hope you enjoyed it.